I was working with the biggest egotistical asshole I'd ever met in my life. I'm not in the series anymore. And they said, Erik, had you fired? I said, what do you mean? How did he do that?
Hollywood told fans that John Baker and Frank Ponch Poncherello were brothers, partners, inseparable. But the truth was far from the California sunlit smiles. Behind the helmets, behind the cameras, it was a battlefield of ego, tension, and unspoken grudges. Larry Wilcox, the straight-laced Marine-turned-actor, held a secret for decades. At 78, he finally speaks. What made him wait so long? Was it fear, loyalty, or the memory of a near-fatal motorcycle crash that reshaped everything? Today, we uncover the untold story of Chips. The camaraderie that was mostly a performance, the betrayals that stung, and the forgiveness that set him free. On screen, Baker and Ponch were flawless, charming, witty, unstoppable. Fans saw effortless chemistry, the kind of friendship most could only dream of. But off-screen, the story was different. Larry Wilcox recalls his first days on set. A young Erik Estrada strutting in and out of the crew's sightline, obsessing over hair, mirrors, and attention. He flirted freely, invited women to his trailer, and carried an ego that seemed untouchable. For Wilcox, a disciplined Marine, it was almost unbearable. But Wilcox knew the rules of Hollywood. The show came first. Personal feelings had no place on set. He endured, set his own code. Don't let bitterness define you. Maybe it's his fault, maybe it's mine. Either way, don't drown in it, he thought. For 5 seasons, that philosophy carried him through. What audiences interpreted as camaraderie was often a truce disguised as friendship. But the tension never fully went away. It simmered, waiting for a spark. That spark arrived one sunny day on set. A stunt meant to thrill fans went catastrophically wrong. Erik Estrada's motorcycle launched into the air, flipped, slammed into a truck, and into life-threatening danger. Wilcox's Marine instincts kicked in. He rushed forward, administered first aid, and stabilized Estrada until paramedics arrived. Estrada's sternum was shattered, his lungs filling with blood. Last rites were considered. In that instant, survival eclipsed rivalry. Ego, resentment, tension, all irrelevant. Wilcox saved a man he had spent years tolerating. But in Hollywood, survival carries its own consequences. Estrada lived, but the crash gave him leverage. Lawsuits followed, studios were cornered, and NBC made a choice that would forever alter Wilcox's career. The network would keep Estrada and let Wilcox go. Wilcox had endured every stunt, every ego clash, every awkward confrontation, but nothing prepared him for corporate betrayal. Upon returning from a triumphant promotional tour in Brazil, where 40,000 fans greeted him like a rock star, he received the call. NBC is letting you go. Estrada had demanded it. Wilcox's heart sank. Years of discipline, professionalism, even saving Estrada's life, rendered meaningless by contracts and studio math, visuals, airport footage, Brazilian fans cheering. Wilcox receiving the phone call in slow motion, the weight of realization hitting him. The decision was brutal, but Wilcox refused to crumble. He knew in Hollywood the narrative was as powerful as contracts. He acted fast, crafting his own story. Over lunch at a French restaurant in the Valley, he outlined his departure. He wasn't fired, he was moving on. The press reported it as choice, not exile. To the world, Wilcox left Chips with confidence. Behind the curtain, he seethed, but he survived with dignity. Even as Wilcox rebuilt his career, anger lingered. 5 years of rage simmered beneath the surface. Estrada had betrayed him. The studios had sacrificed him, and no article could erase the sting. Nights alone, one drink after another, memories of betrayal. They fed the fire. Resentment became a companion, a trap he couldn't escape. Three truths emerge here. Anger is seductive, but destructive. Endurance is not healing. Bitterness is a self-made prison. Then came a question, simple yet brutal. Are you going to wallow in vengeance forever? The answer came not with rage, but with clarity. Wilcox chose a path few would expect. He decided to love on his former rival. Not fake it, not manipulate, truly, deliberately, let go. Wilcox's approach was radical. If Estrada wanted the spotlight, Wilcox stepped aside. If Punch took the picture, Wilcox guided the fan. He didn't compete, he liberated himself. Forgiveness didn't erase the past. He remembered every slight, every betrayal. But he released their power over him. Peace replaced rage. Laughter returned. Enjoyment of fan events returned. Perspective changed everything. Wilcox saw not the arrogant star, but the man shaped by hardship. Estrada's swagger, vanity, attention-seeking, they weren't ego, they were armor. Survival in a cutthroat industry. Empathy opened the door to liberation. Wilcox realized resentment was optional. Freedom was a choice. What does this story teach us? 3 lessons: growth through adversity. People who frustrate us most can shape us most. Estrada forced Wilcox to discover his resilience, entrepreneurial spirit, and forgiveness. Letting go is strength. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It frees you from chains of bitterness and allows you to reclaim your life. Legacy is choice. Fame, ratings, and contracts fade. How you respond, dignity, compassion, grace, that is what remains. Visuals. Wilcox walking along the beach at sunset. Archival CHIPS footage playing in the background. Montage of his post-CHIPS achievements. Voiceover. At 78, Larry Wilcox chose to speak not for revenge, not for validation, but to preserve his legacy and share the truth. Hollywood may forget, contracts may dominate, but human courage and choice remain immortal. John Baker and Punch may always be remembered as the perfect duo on screen. But the man behind the badge, Larry Wilcox, teaches us that the real story is never just what you see. It's the courage to endure, the wisdom to forgive, and the strength to reclaim your peace. And that is the story he finally chose to tell. Visuals fade out with Wilcox smiling, standing with a sunset behind him, the CHIPS theme softly playing in the background. Call to action. Did this story change how you see CHIPS? Share your thoughts below, hit like, subscribe, and click the next video for another untold Hollywood story.